Here we go. Hey, welcome to the SNS live stream. I'm Jabin from Postal Barbecue, and we have Greg from Ballistic Barbecue, Justin from Baby Mac Maniac, Mike from Everyday Barbecue, and Russ Jones from Smoky Ribs Barbecue, and the legend, the man himself, Dave Parrish from SNS Grills, the owner, the legend, the man. Here we are.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can live up to that intro, but I'll do my best.
Oh, I'm sure you can't.
I'm sure you can.
What?
You said can't, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can? Oh, yeah. I'm sure you can, buddy. I'm sure you can. I'm pulling for you.
So if you're just tuning in, welcome to the live stream. We're really excited to be here. This kind of we're talking with the guys in the background prior to going live. And, this kind of stemmed as an idea out of a live stream that Mike did over on his channel. And Russ and Justin and I, we jumped on and we had a great time. We're like, we need to do this as a whole team for SNS Grills, because if you've been following along the channel, if you've been following along SNS Grills for the past 4+ years, you know that there's a lot of great YouTubers, barbecue YouTubers that have jumped into the scenes. I was looking at some past stuff earlier today, and we had guys like this dream team here, but also like Steven Casado, the Steven from the Cookout Coach has been on the channel. We've had Real Top Experience doing videos over the years. And so this literally is, in my opinion, is the dream team of barbecue right here in the house. And so welcome. We got Kent in the house. If you see some guys, so the team, if you see guys in the house, feel free to shout them out. We got Kent in the house. He is always here, looking forward to some good barbecue action. We got Daniel Edwards. We got Leaderman, new sub here at SNS Grills. Welcome. Let's throw this up here. Yeah, and so this is a new sort of platform where we've been exploring through our different channels using StreamYard to do some live streams. And so tonight, like I said, we got these guys, and we're going to try to keep it a little bit concise. We've got over the past couple of days, we've been collecting some questions for the team and for Dave as we sort of end 2021, looking forward to 2022, and this is what we're doing. We got some questions here, but hey, guys, how was your Christmas? Let's start that off. How was your Christmas? Greg, you're out of town, I know, at a family's house. Greg, I just said that. Mike, I saw a post or something from you earlier that you were working on your car. What's going on this Christmas season for you guys?
Well, I'm up about 8 hours away from where I live, up in Northern California, with my wife and son, visiting my sister and my brother-in-law, having a great time out here. She lives out in the country. It's been cold and rainy the whole time, but makes it a little bit more like Christmas. Actually, where I live, it's raining right now and cold, so I guess I'm not missing a whole lot with the weather, but it's nice being with family during the holidays.
Oh, for sure.
We hosted everything this year again, so it was a really busy few days. I mean, I started to cook Thursday night and didn't finish till Saturday around 5 o'clock, and hosted my family and finished up Saturday night, and then Sunday we spent at my in-laws. So it's been pretty much nonstop for me, but yeah. It was a great holiday. I have to say, I'm blessed, very happy.
Yeah, it's pretty fun to see some of the things you've been doing over the holidays, just personally, right? Like you've been talking, like we talk, periodically over the weeks, and you've been talking about your car that you've been working on, and just to hear that engine roar was pretty cool to see.
I'm excited. It comes home tomorrow, but
Nice.
we got snow today, so I won't be driving, but it'll be safe and sound at home, and that that's going to be awesome for me and my son.
Yeah, no, that's great. What the rest of you guys been up to?
I'm wondering who's trolling me in the chat right now. I feel like that's probably Ricer. It just seems like something he would do. We had a really good Christmas. My mom came over and it came up, and we actually played it super low key and went to we actually went out for sushi for Christmas, which is a lot of fun because all those places are open, man. And it was great. It was kind of a non-traditional thing, and we had a really good time. My son's got this 3D printer. He got it not for Christmas, but he got a lot of stuff to use with it for Christmas, and so he's cranking out stuff like anything he can think of. He's making. That's kind of fun. Stuff just like it's been a really good, really laid back, just enjoying time with family type of Christmas for us.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah.
I know for me, that was kind of the theme of the year. It was, my kids, they go back and forth between my house and my ex's house. And, sometimes that's a bit of a challenge, but we just had just a real good, casual, low key, Christmases with, joining together with family as well. And the sushi sounds great, Justin. I cooked. You're gonna laugh. I cooked a vegan curry on Christmas Day for family, and we feasted. It was great. But not traditional Christmas whatsoever. But definitely delicious. Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been like 80 degrees here, so it's been a really weird. There's nothing Christmassy about this Christmas as far as weather-wise. I mean, we're closer to firing up the pool and jumping in than we are to having anything that resembles a white Christmas. So,
yeah, and so for us, I'm the only one on the team that's up in Canada, and but I'm on the west coast of Canada, where it's just traditionally a green Christmas. And this year we got dumped on with snow. Christmas Eve we got about a foot of snow, and we're looking at 30 plus centimeters, which is 12 plus inches of snow over the next week again. And so my studio is completely covered with snow, which really makes it for a nice Christmas, actually, because we don't get the luxury of the white Christmas very often. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Dave and Russ, how was your Christmas?
Oh, it was good, man. I didn't do any cooking whatsoever. My son Derek, we went to his house for Christmas Eve, and he done a leg of venison and also did a couple of pork butts that, man, he nailed both of them. That was really good. And my wife, she was in here the whole day before and then part of the day before we left to go there, and she did all kind of things, But it was good. But yeah, I didn't cook anything for once. So, but it was good, relaxing. Christmas Day, we didn't do anything, man. Just chill.
Nice. That's kind of one of the nice things, right? Just relaxing on Christmas, not having to cook, having someone else do it. Because if you do all the cooking normally throughout the year, it's nice to have that little bit of a break.
It really was. I tell you what, he did a fantastic job on that meat. We loaded up the offset a week ago on a trailer, and he took it to Mobile. It's parked over there because I plan on shooting the majority of my videos there at his place now, since it looks better than what I've got.
Yeah. And
so I've got most of the cookers over there. I still have the pellet grill here, but everything else is over there. Plus he's got some of his own, so.
Yeah.
But he's enjoying the offset. He'll put it to use where I let it sit here 6 months out of a year between using it. I think I start growing hair on the inside of it. It goes so long, but he'll put it to use in between videos, Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had a laid back, Christmas as well. Had the grandparents over, and the kids got everything they wanted, so they're happy, which means we're happy, and it was a good time.
Yeah, you got a big household now, hey?
A lot, 5 kids. So it can be hard to find a place to sit when it's time to watch shows at night.
Yeah, I bet.
Mm-hmm.
So, Dave, when it comes to SNS and the future of SNS, going from 2021 to 2022, I have a whole list of questions that are very specific to you regarding SNS Grills and what's coming down the pipeline. And so we're going to get to some of that stuff because I know there's a lot of people that have asked that are waiting for more products, because the common theme with SNS Grills is people are really, really loving and appreciating SNS because of either they're actually listening to users, and you are specifically designing kettles and grills and accessories for the user, right? And so we'll kind of come back to that a little bit, but I'm going to start off with a couple questions here that are kind of for everyone. And so if you want to jump into some of these, feel free, guys. And so the first question, here we go.
Before you do, look at these comments. I think there's somebody in there you need to look at and possibly eject.
Yeah. I've already blocked them once, but it looks like they have a second account. Yeah. Let me just jump onto the channel.
I just got it. Mary J, you're being bad. You got to go.
Mary J.
Maybe assign somebody in the chat, Jabin, as a mod, like maybe Kent. Kent would be a good mod.
That's what I was just thinking here. Kent, are you okay to be a mod?
Yeah, he's saying, David, you need a mod.
Okay, let me just sorry, I'm kind of new to all this stuff too, so just bear with me. Let's go to live. Let's jump over here.
Not very funny.
Not very funny.
you obviously like fructose syrup, Justin.
I mean,
yeah, you obviously like fruit. So I blocked both of their accounts. Kent, I have made you a moderator, and so that is great. We'll probably kind of get rid of a lot of those comments here. We got the gallery backyard barbecue. Welcome to the house. If you were just joining, again, welcome to the live stream. And so the first question, Dave, this is specifically for you, okay?
All right. Hit me.
Dave, how did you find such handsome people to make videos for SNS?
Mike asked that question, right?
Yeah.
That's funny. Man, it's been so long. I think the first guy, actually, he played hard to get, so he wasn't the first guy. The first guy on the channel was Justin, and I think a lot of folks came after that relationship that we had. Funny story, Justin and I sent emails to each other that, oh, wait, you sent an email and I didn't read it. And
you ignored it? Is that the word that you're looking for?
I didn't ignore it. It's like we had a lot of emails coming in through, and it wasn't direct to me. It was to the company, and we had flagged it, or someone had flagged it, and then forgot to respond. And 3 weeks later, I decided to reach out to Justin, very coincidentally. So I had no knowledge of the email that he had sent me. I just saw Justin on YouTube, thought I needed to reach out. He replied, "Is like, wait, you don't know about the email I just sent you?" Or something like that.
That was weird. I mean, if you think about the irony there, like, I guess it was meant to be.
Yeah, what are the chances?
Yeah.
What are the chances? So I don't know. We're just lucky that we're all so good looking. You know, better to be lucky than good.
Yeah, it is, I always call this the dream team, and, it's for good reason. You look at the lineup of creators, Dave, that you have been able to not just connect with, or not just ask to make videos, but actually connect with. And, the six of us here and people in the past, it comes from a relationship, and we're all, it seems like we're all very, we're just championing SNS and the vision that you have. And it's pretty incredible just how that's come to fruition over the years, starting from Justin. And I think I started back in 2018 and then took a bit of a break and then back again. Right. And,
going on 4 years now. Yeah.
Yeah. Going on 4 years. And, as soon as that SNS hit my first kettle with it, I was hooked for sure. And so, yeah. So when it comes to, sorry, someone was going to say something. No?
Probably a Mary J3 comment, but she's been shut down.
I've got two mods out now. I've personally blocked Mary J 3 times. There's now a fourth account.
She keeps coming back.
So yeah, it just keeps coming
Somebody
back.
prep for this. It's getting old, but let's just ignore them. Like I can't be on it.
Trolls,
So we don't have to
man.
worry
Yeah. We'll just
No life whatsoever.
Yeah.
Just ignore the chat for that one, and they'll leave, and our mods we'll get them. So okay, when it comes to the team, one of the questions was, what is your favorite thing to cook and why? And we're all in different regions of North America, and so knowing barbecue, there's different regions that have different specialties and things like that, from Texas to the east to the west. So what's sort of your favorite thing to cook for your family on a midweek or a weekend sort of thing that they really appreciate?
Personally, my favorite thing to cook is probably not going to be a surprise, is a good ribeye.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's my go-to.
Yeah.
And the kids are actually getting old enough that they'll eat steak. The youngest is 9 now, and you could make them steaks when they were younger, but even if they said they liked it, they didn't really eat all of it. But now they're much better eaters, so we can make them steak. When I barbecue, I like to do pork butt, just because so many kids, and you can feed a pretty big crowd with a pork shoulder. So those would be my hot and fast and my low and slow go-tos.
Yeah, no, that's good. I remember watching the YouTube or the Facebook group, and it was like Ribeye Friday for the longest time, right? With some Brussels sprouts, I think it was, and some roasted potatoes, all done on the with the Sloans here. And yeah, some of those were amazing to look at.
Yeah, steak night was a regular for him. Like it'd be like I text, what are you making tonight? What do you think? It's Friday. Guga.
We got
those.
Hey, Guga.
We got Guga in the house.
Dropped in.
Hey, Guga.
He's made content for the channel.
He has made content for the channel. That's right.
Yeah.
I remember back in 2018 or something like that. He did the first picanha video for the channel, and then that was under the old branding of Adrenaline Barbecue. And Dave asked me to do, Justin, you asked me to do back in the day a rebranded version of Guga's video, and the stress of that one.
No
pressure. That was insane. I'm like, I can't live up to Guga. Guga is a legend of his.
And if I remember, that was like a pretty stressful shoot. Like you had issues with that one, right? You had to make a couple runs. It's hard to compete with Guga when it comes to picanha.
When it comes to picanha, he is the king of picanha. So, yeah. Okay, what was that question? What was your favorite thing to cook?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I like, ribs. Ribs is my favorite thing to cook. Prime rib.
You kind of had to say that, yeah.
I guess I did. Prime rib is not far behind it, but like on a weeknight, it would be a ribeye, or now over the last year, a smash burger. I think I can thank Greg for that, actually. Yeah.
For us, I'll go next. For us, it's it's burgers. So it'd either be smash burgers or handmade patties. And when I'm on a weekend cook, if I just want to relax, and kind of kick back. I love to do pork butt because it's so easy and you can't mess it up. And, you know, you can feed, I think what Dave said, great point. You can feed a lot of people for, you know, not a ton of money. Well, yeah, it's really, it's probably my go-to for weekend stuff. So yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Well, I was saying, yeah, for me, for grilling, definitely a really nice, really thick ribeye, and then barbecue. I like beef ribs; those are my favorites. And beef back ribs and short ribs, but I love back ribs, right? Really good back ribs. And coming up is the time when I usually buy them, because after the New Year's, you can usually talk your butcher into cutting a nice meaty rack off of the rib roast. So
yeah, around here there's so many prime rib, just ground burger meat that you can probably easily score some good ribs right now.
This is the time. It used to be the time. Weird things are going on right now with the meat market, but
that's true.
Yeah, with me, as far as barbecue related, it would have to be, I really like beef ribs quite a bit too. And I'll be honest with you, man, I have eaten so much of it. I love barbecue, you know, pork pull sandwiches and such as that, but I'm about burnt out on it. But as far as my favorite thing to cook overall, anything seafood, I love. You know, my family loves it. Of course, we were raised on it, being here on the coast, you know. And but that would have to be my all-time favorite above anything.
Yeah, we need to get some more seafood videos from Russ next year. That's a good.
Yeah, well, my next one will be seafood. I'm putting kind of a Vietnamese twist to it, kind of like I did the Dungeness crab last spring, but I'm doing it with local seafood, and see how that goes.
Yeah. Seafood would be great to add more to the channel. For me, I'm on the West Coast. Like I'm 2 minutes away from the Pacific Ocean, and so we have like docks with like fresh seafood and stuff. But I actually can't eat seafood, and so other than like some of the bivalve sort of items, and so any fish I can't eat. And so we're in the salmon capital of Canada, but never cooked it really. I've only cooked it a few times because I can't eat it, and my family doesn't really eat it. But so Russ, you're right on the ocean too, and so we gotta add some of those. For me, one of the things I love to do the most is chicken leg quarters. Love those. But also like a fake pulled pork using what was that, pork loin rib section, and then smoking it. It only takes 2 hours. Slice it super thin, as thin as you can, just pile it up just like a pulled pork sandwich with some slaw on it, some barbecue sauce, and you have sort of a variation of pulled pork in 2 hours versus 10 or 12 hours. And that thing is absolutely wonderful, just because you can still do it after work if you're willing to have a slightly late dinner. And so if you've never tried it, it's great. So
looks like everything gives Mary J the runs from what I've read.
Oh boy.
So
nice.
Guga is just asking for a huge cookout video with everyone on this live stream right now. Yeah, that would be incredible. Like a lot of fun. I know Dave and Justin, you were just and Greg, you were just out with Guga for his 3 million live stream, and so that seemed like a lot of fun. You know, just
that was a blast. I had a lot of stuff going on that night.
Yeah,
actually, the week prior, because they'd been cooking for days. I was there for the event, but Justin and Greg were there for like 5 days or something.
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah, it was a fun time. We really had a good time. It was good seeing you there too. That was definitely one for the record books. I was just looking back at that, and his video just got 3 million views, ironically, or it's about to go over 3 million if it hasn't already. So that's kind of ironic. 3 million views on your 3 million sub video. That's amazing.
That is pretty impressive.
Yeah. That's a good idea, Guga. We should do that.
We should do that. Yeah, because I know when we were on Mike's call, he's like, you guys need to come down and but this would be even better to do an SNS stream, video, everything, all the fun stuff down at his place. I mean, it's a great excuse just alone to go to Florida and see Guga, right?
Yeah,
I'm just going to
exactly.
sit back and let all you guys cook for me, though.
So when it comes to cooking specifically, and this is kind of an open question, when people are first starting to get into charcoal cooking specifically, and SNS, the slow and sear is charcoal specific, right? And so when it comes to charcoal cooking, one of the questions we had was any advice on adding charcoal on long cooks, and so. Oftentimes over, say 7 hours, we're going to be thinking about adding, some more charcoal to the grill. Is there any specific strategies or ways that you guys have come to that really helps with, keeping temperatures stable? Sometimes you add coals and your temperature drops or your temperature spikes. Is there anything that you've noticed when it comes to the SNS? Or just in general that helps you guys out when it comes to adding coals?
I mean, that's an easy one for me. I don't know what the rest of the guys will say, but I simply use the coal picker tool, and I'll run it through the coals just to get all the ash out of the bottom of the slow and sear and let it go down. And then I'll push the lit coals over to one side and just pour unlit coals on the other side. And I don't have to do any vent adjustments. I don't have to do anything. It pretty much picks up right where it left off. There may be a little variance for the first 15, 20 minutes, but then it settles right back in. And I've had people ask about it before, and it seems like they get intimidated by something that's just really simple to do. It's very simple. It's a very simple process for me.
So when it comes to like one of the, I think there's another question that was kind of similar to this about, adding coals and ash, how sometimes when you're mixing your coals, ash can come up and get on your food and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Is there any tips that you have for that to help with sort of the ash disbursement?
In my experience, when you see that ash, even if you do nothing about it, you're really not going to taste it on your food.
Yeah,
it's not really going to adhere. A lot of it washes off as the meat sweats or whatever. But you can, when you take the lid off, you can just slide the lid over so it's still covering the meat, but the slow and sear itself is exposed, and that'll keep 90% of that ash off anyway. The ash to me is really not something that I worry about. Going in that question that they had asked about adding charcoal after 7 hours, I wonder if that person, or I'm guessing that person doesn't do a lot of low and slow, or they're just getting into it and they're kind of wondering how that is different from, the hot and fast or the chicken where you're just cooking for an hour or two, or that kind of thing where you don't have to worry about refueling. Because we got to remember a lot of our customers and our folks are just getting into it. And what I would tell folks is when they're adding charcoal at the 6, 7, 8 hour point, or even longer, that it's really just about, like Mike said, clearing out the ash, adding new charcoal, and closing the lid and not touching the vents. The temperatures that your grill sustains are a factor of the having enough fuel to burn and then airflow. And if you have constant airflow, you're going to hit your temperature. So try to keep your vents, or just leave your vents where they were right before you added the charcoal. Open the lid for as short a time as possible so you don't have the fire building up on you unexpectedly or whatever. 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, that's not a big deal. Just don't take the lid off and then go to your garage and find the bag of charcoal and come back 10 minutes later. Fire's going to be hot, and when you close the lid, you're going to see 300-400 or more degrees. And And then I think another component of that question may have been concern with the kind of smoke you get from charcoal that's just igniting.
Yeah, that's definitely a part of it.
Yep, and that smoke you get, you're going to get that from old charcoal or new charcoal. And if you think about it, when a briquette's burning, the outside of the briquette is burning, but the inside of the briquette, well, it's an unlit briquette, right? Because it's not burning yet. So whether or not you've got lit fuel and you're adding unlit fuel over here, or you've got a briquette that's burning down, you're still transitioning from burning coal, burning char to the not ignited stuff. As long as you maintain a constant airflow, that will settle off so that the charcoal smoke disappears. So that's another reason to, only keep the lid off for a minute or two, close it, don't touch your vents. The smoke will die off in just a few minutes, and it won't be enough to alter the flavor profile of your food. So it really is pretty simple. And for folks that are just thinking about cooking low and slow for that first time, and they're worried about what they got to do in the middle of the cook, I would say don't overthink it. Just be quick when you refuel, and you should be fine.
Yeah. Okay, so that brings us to another question. When it comes to charcoal, sort of like lump and briquettes, like over the years, we've have really pushed briquettes in the Sloan Sear, but with the evolution of the Kamado, back a couple of years ago, we were saying, go ahead and use lump or briquettes in the Kamado even. And so when it comes to choosing your fuel source, what's sort of your guys' go-to sources? Is it lump? Is it briquettes? And what's your reasoning for that?
I'll go.
That works.
I'm trying to figure out some of the back end stuff with these comment stuff too. So if you see me sort of like looking off and sort of zoning out, that's why. I'm sort of in the behind the scenes as well, trying to figure out some of these recommendations from Kent that he's giving about subscriber comments and things like that.
I really love briquettes just because they are so consistent and predictable when it comes to the heat management. And I think briquettes have come a long way since the old days. They've moved away from a lot of the binders and such, and they're more natural. You get results more like lump you'd expect from lump. This being said, I still love my lump though, and my personal choice when I'm using a Kamado is lump charcoal. I just like. You can get different flavor profiles with it, because you can buy it that is made from, mesquite, a lot of mesquite out where I live, but also oak and other hardwoods. But I think again with the SNS Kamado, one of the nice things about that is it does take charcoal briquettes very well. But I like to cook with a. I mean, I'd kind of go back and forth. I'm not probably being any help at all, but again, I think briquettes just simply because they are so predictable, and lump because I think I get different flavors out of that, and also it gets, in my opinion, really hot, and the ash is a lot cleaner. If you are worried about ash flying around, I talk with my hands. I'm looking at myself. It's a very very light ash.
Yeah.
Right, Justin? Justin's laughing at me.
Hey, you took some great pictures at Google.
Yes, I did. Not a lot of video, but a lot of great pictures.
A lot of great pictures. Yeah, for me, I'm a briquettes kind of guy. I think the last time I bought lump charcoal was 2+ years ago, and it was specific for a type of video. And I really appreciate the how consistent the briquettes burn, especially in the Sloan Sear. If I wasn't using a Sloan Sear and I was like I don't know, needed to cook some pizza or something, I may use lump. But yeah, in the SNS, for me, lump is my golden choice.
Yeah.
And another nice thing about briquettes, if you buy a 20-pound bag, you're getting 20 pounds of usable product.
That's right.
Where, lump, you buy a 20-pound bag and you're getting, 15 pounds, maybe a bunch of crumbs and maybe some cement
Yeah.
A few rocks.
in the kiln.
Yeah.
Tree straps, that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Tree straps, a skull.
Mountain Dew bottle.
Yeah.
Mountain Dew bottle.
I actually think it's Dave's fault. I'm kind of hooked on the Kingsford competition briquette. Like it does everything I need it to do, and it's usually pretty readily available. And I kind of count on it. So,
Yeah, I think that's what we always used at your house.
Yeah, and I never used it before you were coming over. So, and it works in all my cookers. It works in the Kamado, it works in the kettle, it works in the offset. At least to get the fuel lit. So,
I'm kind of charcoal agnostic as far as lump versus briquette. My biggest advice is pick something and stick with it, because the different fuels, they all burn at different intensities and they light, some light quicker than others. And I don't just mean lump versus briquette. I mean, one manufacturer's briquette versus another, or one type of lump versus another. And when you have 5 or 6 different bags on hand and you're always jumping to one thinking you're catering your cook specific, by picking a specific charcoal, what you're really doing is adding another variable. And, eventually when you're not asking the question anymore, the answer. When you're asking the question, what I tell people is, if you're worried about what fuel to use, just pick something and keep using it. Once you get to know your fuel and how it lights and about how long it's going to last and how hot it burns for you. And somebody just mentioned Fogo. We sell Fogo. I love Fogo. We offer Fogo because it's a good, consistent fuel. And for folks that want to source that, from us, we're happy to provide it.
Yeah.
But pick something you like and stick with it. That's what I tell people.
So when it comes to steak, so Dave, you like we'd already talked about, you're like Steak Friday kind of guy. Greg, you know how to make an amazing steak. I've watched your channel. You actually inspired me back when I was getting started on YouTube, and so I've watched a ton of your stuff. But specifically on the SNS channel, you've done some amazing steak cooks, roast cooks, some amazing stuff. When it comes to steaks, we often on the SNS channel do a lot of like reverse sear type of content, where we're bringing up the steak slowly, then finishing up with the cold grate technique sear to get that like perfect crust. And so this one question that came in was, so we often talked about searing at the end, reverse sear, but do you have any advice or for when doing a proper front sear and when it should be used? And so Greg, Dave, Justin, you do a lot of steaks as well. Russ, all of you guys. What's sort of your tips?
For the record, I know that Justin, Mike, and Russ can all cook a fantastic steak because I've been at their house and cooked steak with them. So I know those guys can cook.
As far as a front sear, that's exactly how I do like a 3/4 inch to maybe even a 1 inch steak. I mean, I sear it, now sear it, and she's done. As far as I'm concerned, 3/4 inch. I mean, you're going to have that center like you're looking for, most of the time. And that's the only time I use a front sear.
Yeah.
When we get into the 1.5, 2 inch or thicker, then reverse sear all the way,
Yep. You stole the words right out of my mouth, Russ.
Yeah.
Time's a big factor too. When you're a front sear steak is going to cook quicker because usually you're picking a thinner cut with that, and also just the process is quicker. So I have front seared many steaks. I don't do it on video too often, but I definitely do it in real life.
So when it comes,
you did a video on the channel, Dave, front searing a steak in your backyard. Remember?
Oh, I did that live stream.
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was live stream. I recorded it live.
It wasn't a live
Does
stream?
that make sense? Because you're always alive when you're recording. So I uploaded it live to YouTube, not realizing that it wasn't actually live, but then it was there, and then I had to click a button to publish it or something. Yeah, I got to the end of the video, and I'm looking for comments, and there were like 0 comments. And I know that I'm not that popular, but I would have thought at least someone would have tuned in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yes, I did.
Teamed up at Gugas. Dave, you and I should have teamed up at Gugas. I'm sure we would have got a little footage.
Well, we can do that live event.
Yeah.
I don't think well, never mind.
Let's park some RVs out back. He's got a lot of space out there. We can just chill for a few days. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That place is amazing.
So Dave and Russ, you guys mentioned you do front sear, often, when it's appropriate, right? Is there any tips that you would give when doing a front sear, from like how long, kind of the process of, like from coals to how long you might be on the front sear to then do you put it off to the side to finish coming up to temperature, or is the front sear enough?
There again, with a 3/4 inch steak, typically I'll go 4 minutes on each side, and that doesn't have to be done all at once. You can flip in between the turns, but you're going to average about 4 minutes per side to get that medium rare that you're looking for. And that's not right up under the coals, but like, couple 2 or 3 inches above the coals.
Right.
That's the way I do it. It's not so hot to where it tends to char and burn the steak, but you're ultimately going to end up with a really good sear, but still get that internal temperature where you're looking. It just comes from knowing your pit and doing it enough to kind of dial it in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how I do it. What do y'all say?
I agree.
I agree. I would say for folks that are just getting into it is to understand that depending on how you sear, the internal temperature you're shooting for is going to be a little different. So let's say you want a medium rare steak, and you got your trusty digital thermometer, you just got your slow and sear, you got your bag of your favorite charcoal, you light up a screaming hot fire, and you're getting ready to sear it. Well, the third component is the grate you're using. Are you using our easy spin grate, and are you going to use the cold grate technique where you spin a cold portion of the grate over the heat and then you just slap the meat on and you let that radiant heat from the charcoal do the work? Or are you going to use like a cast iron, and you've got a cast iron grate, and it's really, you're trying to get the cast iron itself to that 400, 450, 500 degree point, and then use the heat from the metal or grill grates, anodized aluminum grates. We sell those. They work great. But those transition the heat where the grate touches the meat, and it gives you really perfect looking sear marks. Well, if you take a grill grate steak up to 130 degrees while you're searing it, or let's say a little shy of 130, it's probably going to be about 130 when you get it to the table. If you use the cold grate technique, where you're using a cool grate and using the radiant heat from the fire, you're searing the entire surface of the steak at the same time with the same amount of heat energy. And because of that, if you take your steak up to 128 or 129 or just shy of that 130, you're going to overshoot. When you take the steak off, the same final temperature using cold grate technique is going to give you is going to give you a medium steak instead of medium rare. So the same as using your charcoal, use a technique more than once, get used to it, kind of understand it. The grate you use is a component. However you do it, it's going to taste great and you're going to have fun doing it. So it's not like there's a large margin for error with this stuff. So just get in there, start doing it, try the same technique over and over, take notes of what you did. Review those notes before you do it the next time, or don't. You don't have to have the notes if you don't want it, but trying to be consistent and do something more than once and to get a feel for what to expect really does help a lot with the final result.
Yeah. Okay, here's a question that just came in through the live chat. So if you guys have questions, we got some moderators as well as I'm moderating the chat as well. But this is a question that just came in. I love my kettle, but I'm interested in taking the next steps. Kamado, offset, pellet. Love your opinions. And so I know every single one of us has more than just a kettle. If you were to think outside of the kettle, what's something that you would add to your lineup next? For me, it would be a Kamado. I actually don't even have an SNS Kamado. I love simplicity. And so the kettle for me is my ideal cooker. You can do anything and everything on a kettle. And so the SNS kettle for me is like my number one grill. Outside of that, I think offset, pellet. I don't have an offset, but I have a pellet. I still come back to the kettle. Kamado would be great as well, because you can sort of incorporate some of those kettle style cooks into a Kamado with more efficiency. For you guys, what's sort of been your opinion on, because grills and grilling is sort of endless, right? You can spend, $5,000 on a grill, or you can spend $170 on a grill. What's sort of the next progression for someone who's starting out or looking to take the next step?
Yeah, and Bennett may not know that we do sell a Kamado, so of course we're all gonna say, "Oh, you need to get a Kamado," and I love the Kamado. I'm pretty sure these guys do too. So maybe we'll just say it's a given that we all love the Kamado, and maybe talk about some of those other cookers, the offsets or gassers, maybe, or whatever else that you guys use, because I think that's what Bennett was shooting for with his question.
Yeah,
I'm a firm believer that every grill / smoker is really good at one thing, and some are better than other things. So, and I reckon that's why I have so many different varieties. Kamado, kettle grills, offset, pellet grill, drum smokers, all that, and it really depends on what I cook. If I'm doing a steak, you can't beat a kettle, especially with a sirloin sear, because you do get that ability to reverse sear perfectly. Really nice sear. You're close to the flames, and nothing sears a steak better than that. For instance, my pellet grill, you can smoke that steak and impart the smoky flavor into it. The beginning of a reverse sear. But when you get ready to sear it, it has the ability to slide back and sear. But that flame is so far from that steak, there's no way that sear can ever compete with a kettle grill. And I'm going to say, unless you reconfigure the Kamado is kind of in the same boat. Kamado is really great for low and slows. It's really a hearth oven. You can do fantastic bread. I've done French baguettes on Kamados before. I've cooked full meals on it. I mean, the possibilities are endless, but it does not excel in my book as far as a steak cooker, And then a pellet grill, that's more convenience than anything. And you can get, really depend on what you get. It will deliver smoke, but when it comes to true barbecue and the best flavor profile and the best without being over smoky and that kind of off-putting smoke, just a delicious smoke flavor, I'm going with the offset all day long. Now that's just me, just from experience. That's why I own so many different pits, because each one can deliver something different depending on what you're cooking.
I think talking to somebody who's only using a kettle right now and looking to take that next step, I think a Kamado is the easiest transition. I think a Kamado is more like a Swiss Army knife. It does a lot of things very well. In my life, I've owned probably 4 or 5 Kamados. And the one thing that I'm going to disagree with you a little bit, talking about, we're on SNS Grills, but the SNS being able to put that slow and sear in the Kamado does allow you to cook a badass steak.
Yes, I wasn't even really referring to the SNS. That's one ability they did that differentiates from any other Kamado. But if it was not a SNS, you would have to reconfigure that Kamado to really sear a steak great, which is a pain in the butt. So slow and sear has made that very easy. Yeah, you're correct, 100%.
And again, I love cooking on my offsets, on my Argentine grill and everything. But if I was just giving advice to somebody who's looking to take that next step, I would suggest a Kamado, just because there is so much it can do. Footprint small, and you're not going to kill your budget right off the bat. If you want a good offset, you need to spend the money on it, or else you're wasting your money.
Yeah. And oftentimes offsets and bigger grills like that, they just take up a lot of space. And so you can do more briskets, you can do more pork butts, you can do more cooking for large gatherings of people. But end of the day, how many times a year are you doing that? You're often cooking for your family or a smaller group of close friends and stuff, especially through COVID, right? And so like a kettle, Kamado, those are really, like, I think Russ maybe mentioned it, Swiss Army knives of the barbecue world, that you can make. Like, you hear stories all the time of people, winning, first place briskets in barbecue competitions using the slow and sear kettle, using, Kamados and things like that, right? And so you can really do everything and anything on the slow and sear Kamado, the slow and sear kettle. And, one of my personal favorites right now, the thing that I've cooked on the most over the past month and a half is the travel kettle. I love that thing. It's amazing. Okay, Dave, props on you for that one. That was, we've chatted numerous times in the past.
Yeah, you were definitely excited about that.
Oh
one.
yeah. As soon as I found out that was coming, it was like I was so stoked for like 2 months while I was waiting for that thing to show up into North America, right? And I can't wait for the summer to use that thing, just traveling around to rivers and beaches and all that stuff.
So, I know you're gonna love that thing. I don't know if I told you this or not, but as soon as I found out you're making it, I was like, I can't wait to tell Jabin.
Yeah.
And I guess I was like, he's going to love this. And then there's this moment was like, can I tell him? I don't know if I can tell him. And I was like, as soon as you find out about this, you're going to love it. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, sorry. I remember that. And I remember you said like, oh, I just want to tell you something, but I can't.
I was like, I think I remember getting a vague question from you around that time. Like, is there anything you want to tell me? Like, I put underwear on today. I don't know. What are we talking about? So,
yeah. But I know. Like Greg just took the travel kettle out to the desert and cooked up some.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so if you haven't seen Greg's video, jump over to his channel, Ballistic Barbecue, and go watch that one because it's just such a versatile cooker. It really is a game changer for the travel kettle grills, in my opinion. Yeah.
No, I agree. The really big thing in that travel kettle is that ash sweep system.
Yeah.
without it, you're kind of stuck to a 6-hour cook, and you'd be surprised what you can cook on that 18-inch kettle with the slow and sear charcoal basket. It fits a surprising amount of food. It's a full 18-inch grate, so you can easily feed a small family with it. And now you can pretty much do anything with it you can do with the 22-inch kettle and slow and sear. It's just a little bit less. So we sold a lot of them over the Christmas holidays, and they've been shipping out for weeks now. I'm really excited when I see photos come in, and I hope people do get a chance to keep barbecuing in the January and February timeframe on those, and really absolutely look forward to what's going to happen this summer with that grill.
Yeah.
To go back to the question, I won't talk brands, but I have a gas and a pellet grill in my backyard. I don't have an offset. I appreciate the food that you get off of one, but I can't tend to fire all day long like that, nor is that really something that I want to do. Not with that level of interaction, and to me, the gas grill has a place. The pellet grill has a place. What I would tell folks is don't get intimidated when you see our backyards or you hear about all the cookers that we have. You absolutely don't need them. You don't need 10 cookers to cook everything that you want. We're enthusiasts. We love, and we're going to buy new cookers just because we're curious. And even if we have something great, we're always wanting to try something else just to compare, contrast, better understand the hobby, the art, the science, what have you. There's a lot of good grills out there. And I cook on all of them. I'll admit it. I try them. And
back to the original question, like what's the next step? Like, I think that's kind of like, Kamado is definitely like the next step up from the kettle because they sort of fill that same space. Kamado doing a little bit more and doing it a little more luxuriously than the kettle does, but they're all kind of multitaskers with, as I think it was Gregor Russ said, it's a Swiss Army knife and it's a bigger Swiss Army knife, but everything else is like, it's different. I don't think it's like the next step. I think it's something else. Like pellet grill is easy. Like Greg said, the offset is like unique Texas style barbecue. The gas grill, again, very simple. You're ready to go. You can grill a steak, in a few minutes. Like I think I wouldn't think that if you have a kettle, if you have an SNS kettle in particular with all the bells and whistles on it, I don't know that you ever need to upgrade. You may want to,
yeah.
But like your bases are covered.
Bless you, Justin. Bless you.
like Dave said, if you want to try something else for fun, Santa Maria is awesome. Like that's really cool. That's completely different. And that actually pairs well with an offset because you have to keep a wood pile for either one. All these other grills you don't have to do that. So, but you're set, man. Like just like it's kind of like what Dave was saying about the charcoal. Like just learn your learn your tools, and you'll that kettle will work for you forever, and there's very little that you won't be able to do.
Yeah. I really appreciate that thought, Justin, because we do live in a very consumeristic world, right? And so like for me being a little bit more of a minimalistic mindset, I often think, what do I need for the task at hand? And whenever I think about that question, when it comes to potential new grills, it points me back to the kettle. And, when the SNS kettle came out, it addressed literally all of my concerns from my previous kettles, because I've had a few kettles over the years. And, from the side shelf to the thermometer to the ports to, as someone said in the comments, Justin's hole. I remember that when
the smoke hole.
The smoke hole.
Yeah.
I remember when that first came out, it was designed for, like, the original thought was for the like a third party air blower, right? Dave, that's correct, right?
Basically what happened there is I had this baby and I told Justin, he's the godfather, and we're in the delivery room, and as they're getting to write the name down of the baby or whatever, Justin just sticks his head in and yells smoke hole, and they write down smoke hole. He totally like just, so it's the smoke hole now. It's Justin's smoke hole.
That's one of the few things that I've named in your lineup, Dave.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
But it's become like a sought after feature that I maybe wasn't expected outside of that, like the third party blowers, right? That help maintain temperatures.
Sorry, it does. It is a standard size for the vast majority of thermostat controllers out there. But it's also great for being able to see your intake vent. Most of the kettles on the market, you can't actually see your intake vents. You don't know how much air you're letting in. With this, it's very easy to tell.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people discount that, like as I could just drill a hole in my kettle myself if I want to, and it's like, yeah, you can. Yeah, and I've done it multiple times, and that porcelain always chips, and you still have to. First off, you got to buy a step bit or a hole saw, something like that. Then you got to try to cut it out clean. Then, unless you're just going to stuff it with aluminum foil the rest of your life, you're going to need some sort of cover. Having that taken care of at the factory and then porcelain after the hole's made it's just like one of those things where you're like, I'm just so glad you did that. I got some feedback after I did that travel kettle video, like, and it's so funny to me because you go through this list of like, I don't know, 10 things that and I love everything I said in that video is accurate. If you guys saw it, like, I really like the Jumbo Joe, but this is better this way, and then some of the replies were, why would I pay whatever it is, $70 more for this? And it's like, you mean besides the 10 things that I just said?
Well, and that's a good point, Justin. Like, I remember, like, when I put out a review of the travel kettle on my personal channel, like, when we do these reviews, we are being honest, because we have connections with SNS. It doesn't change the fact that, we have integrity. And we will, you mention things that are, good or things that, could be adjusted, because there's always different production tweaks, right? As you go throughout the years. And where was I going with this? You mentioned that, like, all these things are amazing. And, is it warrant the $60 more? I ran through the price point of adding, any sort of competitor travel kettle, like an 18-inch version, adding in all of the different features that make the SNS travel kettle so amazing. And it was like way more expensive. And if you're looking to
thermometer, it's worth it for the thermometer and the cooking gray alone.
Like, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
And then folks don't appreciate how much that 304 stainless steel is an improvement over plated metal, which is typical, and how much more expensive it is. And even the ash sweep, like, the amount of times I've had to, like, take my travel kettle or my other travel grills and just dump them out into the ocean when I'm done. It's kind of a pain. This one touch, done, right? Yeah. So it's perfect. Okay, so I have another question, and then this is the last question before Dave. I have some specific questions for you. Okay, and so this one's kind of open to the team. Jay, but we're actually over time. So
we are over time.
Yeah,
that's right. Okay,
I don't know about everybody else, but I would love to do this again.
Yeah,
and maybe we. Like I think we did this before, where he had 3 or 4 half dozen episodes. I would love to have the chance to go through some more, but I did. It's kind of late here, and I did promise the kids that I would get back to them, and I already hear them. I already hear the natives, and they're restless.
Can I ask you one question?
Is it loaded? It is a loaded question. Are you going to hit me with a loaded question?
It is a little bit loaded. It's kind of taking a bunch of questions and combining it into one. Okay,
All
so
right.
going from 2021 to 2022, a lot of the questions that we had are things like, is there a 26-inch grill coming in? Is there some added features for like the elevated cooking grate for a 26? The switch from gray to black. Can you sort of give, if you can anyways, can you give any sort of insight into what's coming in 2022? Or
Spill it, Dave. Give us the goods. That's what we're saying.
So I
just
hate
to
to
kind
be
of
boring.
give some excitement for what might be coming?
I hate to be boring, but we just came out with the SNS 500 digital thermometer just like 6 months ago, and just a month ago we just released the travel kettle. So I love both of those products, and we're really going to be focusing on those in 22. As far as huge new things, I don't have anything else to talk about. And by huge, I know folks want the 26-inch kettle. We absolutely want to make it for them. We're already pricing them. They're incredibly expensive. I don't know if people are going to want to pay what we would have to list them at. And we are a small company, and we don't have investors or shares. So we're kind of hand to mouth. We sell products, and we use the proceeds from those products that we sell to invest in research and development for products that we'll be selling in the next months or the next year. So as much as I want to get that 26 out, as much as people want it, it just takes us time because we don't have a huge bankroll or private equity or anything like that we're pulling from to develop this stuff. But it's kind
terrible time. It's a terrible market to develop new metal things, isn't it?
Yeah. Everything's getting more expensive. I won't go into that. That'd be a great topic for a future one. But yeah, everything's cost just everywhere.
Awesome. So essentially what you're saying is there is some things sort of on the back burner that we can be looking forward to. 2022, like a year is a long ways from January to December, and a lot can change in the production and ideas and your brand growth and things like that. And so you're essentially saying that there are things to look forward to in 2022.
I'm saying the travel kettle is what in the SNS 500. I mean,
right? Yeah.
I spent we spent a lot of money researching and developing both of those products.
Yeah.
And it'll take us time to get back in the black with those. And a lot of people don't know about them. They're still just getting into the market, and our focus for 22 is really going to be to build the customer base around the products that are currently for sale on the website now, including the out of stock stuff. We're getting everything back in stock. The 22-inch kettle, we'll have those in 5 or 6 weeks. But I don't have anything huge to tell you about that is going to be hitting.
Yeah. So the travel kettle is it's kind of, I remember talking with you.
And I guarantee you that people asking those questions, they don't have the travel kettle.
No, they don't.
Travel kettle. You'll love
the travel kettle is amazing. I love it. Love it. So we do have more questions on our list. A lot of them are very specific to what's coming up. Dave, I think that was a great answer, sort of that you spent a lot of time focusing on the SNS 500 and the travel kettle, and to release a travel kettle at the end of the year means that that's sort of one of the things that we're going to be really highlighting over the beginning of 2022 because it is so new. And if you don't
if anything, we over delivered on that one because it was a 22 product and we got it in by the end of 21. So time wise, we beat our time on that one. So.
Yeah. And so thank you for bringing that to the market for us all. There's been a lot of people that have opened it up on Christmas Day and been excited. And it's a great grill that people are going to love, especially going into spring and summer for their travel adventures and stuff like that. And so, hey, guys, we are pushing over time. We're 6:11 Pacific time, which means we're a little bit over. I want to say thank you to every one of our creators. These guys, I would love for you to send your appreciation however you feel fit to these guys. They work night and day at times to get content out to you. Dave is working hard along with the SNS team to really push forward with barbecue culture, backyard culture.
Let me just piggyback on what you said about all of the guys now, and Steve and Guga and Ryan, and I think that's everybody, but especially the guys here now, because we spend so much time getting these videos out to everyone. Mm-hmm. And there's no stone unturned. There's no detail that's not considered, because we realize that you are looking, you, the viewer, are looking to us to understand how to cook using the products. And we go to a lot of effort. There's retakes, there's edits, there's trying to anticipate the questions and answer them before we get them as a comment. Have to do another video in the future. And all of the content that Russ and Mike and Greg and Jabin and, well, Justin, I don't know, man, maybe you come back. Maybe, I don't know, maybe come back. Maybe. Okay, for later. But all the content that you guys put out is just tremendous, and the quality is just. Anyway, thank you. It's great that we are the team that we are, and that we're doing we're doing this for a living. It's pinch myself every now and then. So
it's true
for sure.
I feel the same way, and it's great to work with all you guys. Thank you, Dave, for everything and all the learning that I've done from all these legends here. I really do appreciate it. So it's a blessing for me.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity too, Dave. I really do, and looking forward to more of it.
Yeah, Russ is the one I had to woo, everybody. It was a while before we got him on the channel, but I think Russ was the first guy to test our product, and he liked it so much. I'm like, you want to do some video for us? And he's like, it's not my thing, but he's here now. So
yeah.
Thank you, Dave. It's an honor to work with you guys. It really is, except for Justin.
Thanks, David.
Okay. Are we all going to be cool too? I saw a comment about how Justin's so cool because his hat's backwards, and I'm like, I think it takes much. I think
we're all going over the top here. Everyone go over the top.
Here we go.
Yeah, y'all look cool now. Every one of you.
All along, it was the hat.
It was the hat. There we go. Greg, we're missing you, Greg. Come on. There we go. New trends. We got to put the SNS logo right here now, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we can add that. We can add that. Sure. And I like the throwback. I like the throwback hat that Mike is rocking.
It's funny, you guys are all so picky about hats, and then you mock me for mine. And
oh, is that why you turned it around? Is there something funny? Oh, is that a Razorback?
Yeah, go Hogs.
I see.
You're familiar with them, right?
No. So that said, guys, I know I personally appreciate all of you guys. I absolutely love working with all of you guys. And when we get to have email conversations, live, FaceTime conversations, texts, all that stuff, it's the highlight of my day. Justin, you were the person that introduced me personally to SNS Grills, and you probably introduced many, many thousands of people to SNS. Greg, I really appreciate your longevity with YouTube barbecue and sort of the tips and techniques that you've brought to the table over the years. Same with you, Russ and Mike. I just love your content and love what you're doing in the barbecue space. And so Merry Christmas to you all, and Happy New Year as well.
Merry Christmas.
From me,
Same
from
to
my
everybody.
from my
Same to
family to all
everybody.
of your guys's. Yeah,
Yep. Happy
Yeah.
New Year, everybody.
yeah.
Happy New Year. Thanks, Jaden.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Here's to
Yeah.
2022, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody.
That said, Dave, do you have any final parting words for us before we leave the live stream studio?
Let's do it again.
Sounds good.
Let's do it again.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everyone.
All right.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Here's to
Good night.
2022. Keep grilling and keep tagging us in those pictures at SNS Grills. Here we go.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
All right.
Good night, guys.